Behind me are the trophies from Cardiff and District Rugby down the years as they launch the book celebrating the love of people of Cardiff for the game of rugby. This Rugby Spellbound People is out now. It's launched here at the Cardiff Arms Park, which for decades has been the centre of rugby activity in the city.
It's been a long-standing interest, really. It really goes back 60 years to when my father brought me to this very ground as a 7 or 8 year old. He was deeply interested in the game and the past, the history of the game. He played the game before the war in Cardiff and District, so from a very early age I was aware of the rich heritage we've got here in rugby football in Cardiff. And it's something I've always wanted to research and find out about.
So when did Cardiff start falling in love with rugby then?
Well, the game first arrived here about 1870. It was one of the first places where the game was played in Wales. I suppose it was probably another 7 or 8, 10 years before the game really started taking off. And I guess it would be in the mid-1880s that you could say that people were beginning to become spellbound by the game.
Blacks came in 1905, and events like that in that era, they were huge, weren't they?
They were really massive events. I mean, that game in particular was regarded as the unofficial world championship, and of course Wales won. Yes, there were huge crowds attending matches in those days, 30, 40,000 for internationals. Cardiff were attracting crowds of 10 to 20,000 for their regular club games. And of course Cardiff is a smaller place then than it is today. So there were really substantial crowds for the time. But of course, I suppose there was less for people to do, and rugby was a major cultural activity, I think, both to play and watch for people in Cardiff and in Wales generally, of course.
And dozens of clubs around Cardiff, but I guess the focal point's always been here, the Taff, the Arms Park, I guess.
Well, the Arms Park has of course been the focal point of certainly top club rugby and international rugby, and it's so accessible and it's so central, and so the very reason why people flock into the city today to watch major matches here, it was exactly the same 100 years ago, back in Victorian times. It was so easy to get here compared to many other grounds. But there were, of course, lots of other playing fields around the city, Safari Gardens in particular, where local clubs played as well, of course.
Of course, researching it must have been such fun. Did it bring back lots of memories of games you'd seen in earlier days?
Well, it certainly did that, yes, although I don't quite go back to the 19th century myself, but yes, it's been fascinating, and it's really been very enjoyable unearthing so many stories and events that have been forgotten now, and it's one of the reasons I wanted to write the book, was to bring back the memory of those players and teams and games which are lost. A standout game would have been my first ever international when I came here to watch Wales play France. We actually lost, I think it was 1960. But there were many other games, particularly the touring sides. I think the All Black sides have always been a great admirer of New Zealand sides. And so, I do have a lot of memories, yes.
Well, there have been histories of rugby in Wales in general, but this was the first history of rugby in Cardiff. And because of the location of the Arms Park, it is a very sort of sacred turf, or sacred plastic turf these days. So when the chance came to actually publish the book, I jumped at the chance, and it's a fantastic book, and there's a big crowd here tonight to hear more about it. Back in those days, there were probably 200 or 300 rugby clubs just in Cardiff. I mean, of course, rugby was expanded from Newport in the Gwent Valleys all the way to the west, but in Cardiff it became the heartbeat. In fact, there's one bit in the book where there's a football coach, a soccer coach, who was saying that he walked down St Mary's Street in the early 1900s with a football, and people were giving him funny looks because they were wondering why on earth would someone have a football in Cardiff, because rugby was the game.
The author's love of the game shines through in this book. He even played the game alongside Gareth Edwards in his school days, and where better to launch the book than here at the Cardiff Arms Park, which still is the heartbeat of rugby in this city.